It's come as a result of many positive outcomes which we feel can come as a result of this. One of the reasons is that we feel that young people should have a say in the policies which govern them going forward, both in the workplace and in education.
So you're the chair of the Unite Young Members Committee, so have members of that committee approached you and said they want their voices heard?
Yes, quite a few. There's a lot of young members who have approached me, even people that are not even members of Unite down in the streets who are currently aware of my role within Unite, catering for the young membership. And there is a huge demand for this, for the voices to be heard. If you take into account the climate change march, and there's a lot of young people who are already politically engaged and they would like a say for a greener Gibraltar moving forward.
And have you conducted any surveys or polls? I mean, what numbers are we talking about here of people who have approached you and told you that they want their voices to be heard?
No polls have been currently done. That is something that, yes, we're very interested in conducting moving forwards. But this is the general feel that we have engaging with young people in Gibraltar.
And in your press release, you say young people's voices should not be ignored. Is that how they feel? Is that what they've been telling you and how you feel?
Absolutely. If you take Brexit into account, when we had the referendum to remain in the European Union 3 years ago, if you look at the statistics, people aged 16 to 18 would have overwhelmingly voted for Remain. So they had older generations deciding their future. So we think if they have a voice, that will then increase the interest with young people. So they'll have a vote and they'll have to do something about it. Absolutely.
You will have some detractors. How do you feel about, or what would you say to people who might say, for example, that 16-year-olds in this day and age, they've got their head in their phones or their tablets, they're not really paying attention to what's happening around them? Should they really have a say in the political situation and the political process in Gibraltar? What would you say to that?
I would say just look at how interested they were in voting within the European Union, the EU referendum. And if you take into account, as I've already said, the climate change marches which have happened from casemates to number 6, students have been politically engaged already. So I think this is a very positive outcome if this were to be successful in our claim. We've already issued a copy of the press release to the Chief Minister, so we're hoping he will take these issues into account.
Well, that was going to be my next question. What have you done to reach out to the government, the opposition, and, for example, Together Gibraltar as well? Have you approached them all about what you would like to see?
We haven't approached all political parties. We're planning on doing so within the not too distant future. We're planning on approaching them all and just having their views, because I think it's very important to get political parties engaged. And I think that if this were to succeed, I think political parties will have manifestos which are more orientated around the concerns what young people want, because they will have to influence and try and persuade young people to vote for them. And I think this is a very positive, and there's only positives and even more positives to come up from this initiative.
We just had an election. Were there young people during that campaign period that were approaching you and telling you it's not fair that we're not being represented?
Yes, quite a few were interested to vote. There's a lot of young people that are quite politically engaged, and they even feed back to me that in school during the last general election, many young people actually tuned into the political debates and were quite eager to have a vote. So my question would be back, or my answer would be back to these people who are saying that they're too young. No, they're not too young, and giving them the right to vote would only increase and have a more positive impact in the political participation for young people in Gibraltar.
We've got a referendum coming up next year on a very contentious issue for many people on abortion rights, and we won't have another election for another 4 or 5 years. How soon would you like to see this sort of implemented, if it does get implemented?
In an ideal world, we would like to see it instantly. We know that we would like to sit down with government and speak to them about it, see what their views are. If I understand correctly, the Chief Minister has expressed an interest in having in the abortion debate an interest for people at the age of 16 to vote. So I think it's absolutely crucial, not just for the abortion referendum, but also for the general election as well. Because if you have the right to vote at 16, you're old enough to have a child, and I think those people should be taken into consideration, knowing that they're the recipients of the potential outcome in that referendum.